I have hit my 1 year. Woohoo! Let's go. So today I really wanted to talk about what the 1 year has been like for me, and hopefully, if somebody's watching this, they know what to expect as well. So, and everybody's different. So even if I tell you my story, if you go on the carnivore diet, you're going to discover that yours is going to be different from the next person. So I just hope that my story resonates with somebody and that maybe it helps someone find carnivore. So the last year, first of all, wow. Like if I looked back at the last 365 days when I started, I've come so far, and it's not even just physical. It's also my confidence, my what I'm wearing, the decisions I'm making. Some of the decisions I'm making now, I would have never made before carnivore. It's like a whole mind shift for me. And I was not in the greatest of headspace when I started carnivore. I was very hesitant to start it. But yeah, I wasn't in the greatest headspace when I started carnivore. I was over 300 pounds. I was depressed. I didn't have much energy. I didn't feel well a lot of the time. And it took me to feel better to understand kind of how bad I had felt. And so once I started carnivore, I noticed pretty quickly that my energy boosted. I noticed a lot of weight dropping on the scale, which might be selfish to some people, but to me, like, I went on it to lose weight because all my weight gain was leading to health issues. I almost had high blood pressure, and I did have higher blood pressure when I was pregnant with William. I also started to get high blood sugar. And so, not to the point of having diabetes, but pre-diabetic. And so I think those two issues combined, along with just knowing the fact that I was heavier, I think those things really pushed me to carnivore. I would have never found carnivore, though, if JT had not done it first. So I really am appreciative to him to showing me and kind of encouraged me several times to try it, because I don't think if he hadn't done it, I wouldn't have done it just from not knowing about it. And also, he had great results within the first 30 days, and I saw that. And so I joined him a little bit before the first 30 days, but he did amazing, and he continues to do amazing now. So he inspired me to do the carnivore diet. And after that, it was kind of one day after another, week after week, and man, I lost over 100 pounds. I'm down 120 pounds. And a year ago, if you would have asked me, hey, do you see yourself losing that amount of weight? I would have said hands down no. I have been trying to lose weight probably since a little bit before high school. So it's been a long time. I was always pretty overweight, even as a child. And so this is like new to me. It's new, exciting. I feel better. I'm taking better care of myself. And so I feel like a different person. Like if I looked back at myself, man, I look so different, and I can just tell in my attitude and the way I handle things now, the way I parent now, that I'm much different than I used to be, and I'm grateful for that. Life is hard, but I think a lot of the things that compiled to that led to that, were also the choices of food that I was eating. And I don't think you realize how much your food impacts everything. You can get sick from the food. Some people get cancer, for example, and I have hypothyroidism, and I'm wondering if, what I was eating impacted that. Because my doctor, for the first time ever, and mind you, I've been on levothyroxine for a long time, but she said that it's based on your weight. So obviously weight has an impact on my thyroid. And so definitely I think food was connected to that. I'm not a doctor and I don't know, but I'm just very proud of myself for putting in the work, because right now we live in a society where they want to throw some weight loss medication at you to give you the easy way out. And I'm sure some people will argue with me on that, but it is really, when you look at people, if they come off those medications, more often than not, they gain the weight back. And I was on those medications. So I'm just speaking from my experience that it's just not good for you. And I made another video about that, so I'm not going to go too in depth on that. But that is a piece of my story, that I was on those before I started carnivore. And I did lose some weight with them, but I also had very small amounts of hunger. So I wouldn't eat very much. And mind you, carnivore, it's very filling because you eat a lot of protein. And so when I would eat barely anything. And so I'm grateful to not be in those. I think that's another big piece of carnivore for me, is that I've done a lot of healing and I don't need those medications. And I'm grateful to JT for that too, for talking to me about medications. It started with one medication and it kind of just snowballed into pretty much getting off of them. And the only one that I'm still left on is my levothyroxine. And so eventually I'm hopeful that I'll come off of that. Obviously that would be a big update that I would share with you guys. But yeah, man, it's been such a journey, and I've changed my life. My husband and I have done this together, and it's made it that much easier. Carnivore is honestly the easiest lifestyle change I've ever made. Everything else was more like a typical diet where you go on it, you go off it, you go off it, you go on it, you go off of it, and you kind of repeat that cycle, and you go off and on them because they're not sustainable. And a lot of them are just calories in, calories out, which after you look into these things, they don't work. And they actually do damage to your body because it slows your metabolism. And I think that's another big thing about carnivore, is that it started making me ask questions about the bigger picture. Everybody in the society and how our society handles our food and how they advertise food and everything. And it's so backwards, There's sugar in like everything. And that's something that I've noticed, is like my sugar cravings have really decreased a lot. I rarely have cravings. I still have them sometimes, and I think that's pretty normal. I've heard some other carnivores say that they'll still have cravings from time to time. I really don't too much, but I do have them on occasion. But that's such a huge win for me, because on previous diets I had constantly thought about food, and it's like astronomical to me now, because I have so much more mental space to think about other things and do other things, because I'm not constantly thinking about that. I'm not constantly trying to get food. And I used to eat so much. I still eat quite a bit because I have one meal, but that's how every meal used to be. I used to eat 3 meals, snacks, and it would be a ton. And I'm like, well, no wonder I ended up where I did. And I'm just grateful I didn't end up at a point where I was very sick, like I had cancer, I got diabetes, or I had a heart attack. I'm just so grateful for that. And I think that's another big change for me, is I've gotten so much more in touch with my emotions. And I've always been kind of an emotional person, but it's just different. Like, I don't know how to explain it well enough, but now I am able to process things more. And I don't know if that's like connected to the brain fog a lot of people feel. And two, on brain fog, they say that it's related to the hypothyroidism, but I'm really starting to wonder if that wasn't true and it was related to the food. So I'm so grateful to be here and to have your guys' support and to have done this with, my best friend. It makes it so much easier. And that's something I really recommend, is that if you can do this with someone, especially someone close to you, I do recommend that. Obviously, some people don't necessarily have somebody else who's close with them is doing carnivore, but give them time, because I've influenced other people in my life to go carnivore. Not everybody for sure, but, and not even carnivore, like keto. I would say more so I've influenced people to start that. And that's still great. Like, that's a great step in that direction. It falls within the proper human diet realm. And, just start making changes. I think that's the biggest thing. Even if you need to do it gradually, I think that's better than not doing it at all. So starting to cut out the sugars and things. And I've gradually cut out things over time. I did cut out coffee for a little bit. I'm not grateful. I'm not proud of myself for going back on it, but you can cut things out and then you can add them back in and see kind of how it affects your body. I think that's a great benefit of the carnivore diet. It serves as an elimination diet, and you can see what things are influencing how you're feeling. Are you bloated? Are you having loose stools? The opposite, are you having, are you lethargic? All of those things. Your food influences so much. And so I just want people to understand you can take your control back. I feel like at the time that I started it, I never thought I could feel more control over what I was eating, even though I always was. I always had that there. I always had that control as an option. But it wasn't until I cut out all the junk, all the carbs, that I really started to feel more at peace in my head and less hungry all the time. And I'm able to keep up with William better and do more things. I have just more time. And when I come home, I'm like ready to go. I'm not just sitting on the couch watching TV and spacing out. Another big thing for me, and something I would have never done, is left my current job. I'm not going to go too in depth into that, but I just am not a person who loves change. So, especially when it comes to jobs, I'm like this is where I want to be. I want to know what I'm doing. I want the same routine. And ultimately, it's just not a good fit for me. So I'm going somewhere else, and I would have never, ever negotiated a salary before. And that's something I've done, and I'm proud of myself. You got to ask for the things that you want in life. And carnivore's kind of helped me see that. And so I think if you guys start carnivore, you're going to start seeing some big changes in yourself. And, there might be some hard days. I feel like a lot of people say like the first week is the hardest for them, because the cravings, I feel like, peak at the end of that week. But I think once you push past that, it gets easier. And I've never heard that about another diet. I've never heard Weight Watchers got easier, because that's what I was on before. And it never got easier. It actually got harder because they lower your points. So, but as you go on, you find your rhythm, and, you're good to go. I think it's really life-changing for so many people. So many people have gotten rid of their diabetes. So many people lowered their blood pressure, and that's me. And me too. I'm so happy about that. I'm so happy to just be healthier. I talked a little bit earlier about my thyroid, but one of the big things that has changed is that I am steadily decreasing my medication. So even though I'm still on it, I have decreased it from a higher level several times, to the point like every time I get it rechecked, my TSH levels are lower than like the average range. So that means I have to drop a dose of medication. Again, it's weight-based, so as I go down in weight, that dose that I need should start to go down, and to the point that I'm hoping that it'll function how it should. And I won't need those medications, because medications are like a blanket over what the real problem is, which is what we're eating. I think there definitely are other things that could cause diseases in this world, but a lot of it I feel like is linked to our food, and it's a huge problem. But I'm very hopeful that my thyroid levels will get to where they need to be, and then I'll be able to come off of them and I'll be a healthy person. So I think that's my year update. I really appreciate you guys watching and supporting me and supporting JT. We would not be here without support. It's really important, and so I appreciate it from all you guys. Thank you so much. And hit that like button, subscribe, comment, and share this video. Share it to someone who maybe is interested in the carnivore diet and wants to see, what another person's experience has been when they've been on it for a long time. So do those things for us. We appreciate it. And also watch this video next.